Okay, there's a bit of a historical perspective to carb counting. Many, many moons ago, everyone was taught to do something along the lines of carb counting, although it was probably called something different. They were called carbohydrate exchanges or portion control, where a portion was a portion of carbohydrates as opposed to a sort of size of food. It's come a long way, and the great thing is it's coming back into fashion. Certainly all the people I know who've had diabetes for a long time and who are in pretty good nick carb count. It's a really wonderful way for anyone to eat healthily. You don't have to be diabetic to do it, but it does help if you have diabetes to get the hang of it. And you'll find, again, it's not an exact science. People like to think it is, but it's always going to be a little bit hit and miss. But if you can stick to some basic rules and to keep watching how foods affect you, then you will understand the foods that work best for you. You might have heard of something called the traffic light guide. It was green, orange and red for good foods. They were trying to imply that you can eat as much as you like of these things, but that's a bit silly. Foods that were in the middle was eat some but not a lot, and reds was just don't eat them. It's actually easier with diabetics in a way, because you can understand the foods where you can eat things like maybe cheese and it won't have any effect on your blood sugar level. It's still fat, be in no doubt, it's still fat and it's still protein. So you need to bear that in mind, keep it in context. A lot of carbohydrates would fit into the middle ground. They're going to give you energy quite quickly, but they're not overly powerful. So your basic sort of brown bread, all the brown stuff's better for you because it takes your body a little bit longer to digest it, and it gives you a slower release pattern, which is it marries the effect of insulin as it goes in. And then you have your reds, which are, they just deliver up their energy too quickly for your insulin to be able to match. Okay, so the traffic light system is helpful. The other thing that's helpful is reading labels, because many labels these days tell you have to look not just at the sugar content, which is part of it, but the carbohydrate content, which I'd say is even more important. There's a lot of badly labelled things out there that say they're sugar-free, which technically they might not. They might not be in that state of sugar, but they're whack full of carbohydrates. So if you're buying them and thinking, oh, I can have them because there's no sugar in them, you will be sadly mistaken. The other thing to be aware of, because it links in, is the glycemic index. And put very simply, if you eat a brown bread sandwich with cheese and pickle, Branston pickle, then you're not just eating carbohydrates. The bread's carbohydrate, the cheese is protein and fat, and then the pickle is probably carbohydrate and some sugars in a more simple sugars that are going to release quite quickly. The point being, you're not eating one food in one group. You're eating a mix altogether, and that can affect how they absorb. It's more of a, it goes into your stomach and it's a big mush of stuff, and so the release rate is going to be a certain thing. If you just ate bananas all day long, then it would always be the same release rate of what a banana releases. But most of us have things that give us a bit of a spike, lower things. But as a diabetic, to know how much carbohydrate is in a serving and how it's going to release its energy is how you can marry the insulin to the carbohydrates and hopefully end up with good blood sugar control.